Does a 3D printed gasket work? Well, looks like it. So here we are looking at this mower. Now this is a 4-stroke, so mind you, it's a little bit different. This one, as you can see, has a needs some oil, and the first thing I did is that, because this is probably about, I don't know, 7 years old, I'd say, I changed the oil, and the oil was very dirty, so you've got some nice new oil in there which helps it out. Second thing is, we can see this is the exhaust. So this is you can think this is where it goes out. It kind of comes in from here and goes out. We have our spark plug, for example. This is another important part. Usually these things are fine, unless it's, you know, really gone or it's got oiled. You might have to rip it out and you might just have to clean it, but most of the time it's not a spark plug issue. Most of the time it is not a exhaust issue. I've found with mowers and whippersnippers, the first thing you do is you check, do we have petrol? I know it sounds stupid, but it's important. Yep, we're basically at the top. Next thing, if it needs oil, does it have oil? And also, if this is a 2-stroke, you mix a little bit of oil in there. Next thing is, if we take a look from the petrol tank, you see it as a tube going to this thing here, which is a carburetor, which is pretty much a device that uses vacuums and physics and such. It kind of sucks in air in order to mix air and petrol in an amount to then combust it in this thing, which is the engine. And the engine itself, if you want to test if the engine is fine, here I'll show you what do we do. Give or take, my way to do this now is to just move this around. Be careful, of course. Unlikely you will ever start it up with this, but be very careful otherwise. You can see this moves fine, and it is a 4-stroke, so it's going through all its phases, and then we have a resistance phase, but otherwise the pistons are moving because this is directly connected to the motor. So the motor should be fine. Most of the issues I've found are related to the tubes or the carburetor, the gaskets and such. And sometimes we have an air intake, so I'll show you all that in a minute. Because another thing is, we also have the thing which generates a spark. Usually that's fine, so I'll take this off and I'll show you what it looks like. So we're going to pull this, which is the air filter, off, and here we are. So our air filter, this thing here, what this does, and actually a way to check if your fuel, well, one of the ways to check if there's fuel coming in, you see how there's kind of like a bit of fuel coming there. So we have this tube which will degrade. You may have to replace it. Same way fuel lines, you may have to replace those, air lines, etc. If we connect the sucker bulb to this tube, okay, so that's connected, and now I want you to look at, when I squeeze it, what's coming out. Fuel's coming out, so it's working, right? At least the all that, you know, the sucker bulb and the fuel and all that is working fine. You can buy these tubes online, and you can buy these little tube thingos, these clamps online as well. I recommend you get a kit.
The tubing is called Viton or FKM. So Viton FKM. And I believe in this mower, the air actually comes from the top. You can see that turbine, and then it filters through the box, which has kind of like a carbon air filter, and then it goes to the carburetor, just if you're interested.
It's very easy to get. Now usually you have an inlet kind of gasket and an outlet one. Here we can see, if I partially take off the carburetor, we can actually see where it goes into the engine here, and it's got this gasket and also a plastic piece there. Now that's fine for me. If that has issues, you want to replace it. My issue was with this gasket. I'll show you the bad one in a minute. And also there was another issue, actually, because if you take a look you've got this kind of machinery here which pulls this piece, and when it pulls it, I don't know if you can see any, well, you see, hang on, let me try to get that in the light. We pull and basically it allows more air in or less air. This is basically the throttle control. It connects to this. So if I move this down, look at, see that? So that's moving it down, that's moving it up. And you can see down here as well, down, up. My issue, one issue I found is that the spring here, see how easy that is to pull off, was actually pulled off, so I had to refix that. So make sure when you turn the throttle that you have direct response. It's not lagging or bad. That's how you check if it's the throttle. So let me go get that gasket. Okay, so that is the old gasket, and this is the new one. Maybe I'll do it this way. You can see there's a hole there. Oh, sorry, that's the wrong way around. Okay, there we go. There's a hole there. Well, the new gasket, even though it's a bit janky, it doesn't have a hole there. Same way, this is broken as well. And if you look at that metal, it's got a hole there, and it's kind of got this thing here, and then it's got a little hole there. It doesn't seem like much, but you see all these little plastic inlet things. So when we have the broken gasket on, for example, it has an issue between this area, I guess. And even though the new gasket is not perfect, even though this one is not perfect, you can see down here, see that, how there's around this area, it's kind of like, I don't know, a little bit janky or whatever. Point being is that small differences in these gaskets matter because of it's very precise. Hence why it will not run with this old gasket, and we have this new one. And the way that I managed to make this new one is that firstly, I leveled it up or squared it up at the edge there, and then I made a square around it so I could get the a square size. So it's like 5.5 centimeters long and 3.8 tall. Then I just drew around it, right? And I got all of the basic circles, and then I would measure the circles. So that these are about, technically they range from like 0.95 centimeters, so like 9.5 mils, give or take, and then that's like 2.4 the circular, and basically all it's made up of is circles, and I'll show you the 3D render in a minute. And then of course the thickness is, this is like 0.5 mil. This I made about 1 mil. I think it should work a little better. I have one which is 2 mil. Maybe that'll even work better, but you know, this works fine for now, so we'll just keep it. So I had to fix this one as well recently, and the issue was essentially just that the here we have a fuel line going into the tank with a filter, and this just cracked. So you can actually buy these whole with the rubber part and the clear. This is a urethane tube. It goes into the carburetor like so. And then this fella goes into there too. So when we, as you can see, we get a circulation. So you can buy these all on AliExpress for like $5. It's really good. And we see our carburetor. So it's basically pulling in, pulling in the air. And this is a choke, which is dictating how much and when it's cold or not. And then we have the throttle there. So if I throttle it, you can see that moving. So sometimes the throttle cable will come off and you just have to fix that up. And then of course the central piece here is our engine and our thing that spins, that goes through there and spins. And the outer thing is the exhaust. So again, it basically goes from here to here to here to out, or technically fuel at the bottom, air at the side or top, both of those going into carburetor, engine, exhaust out, and then the engine of course has its own spark plug here and its thingo to see the electrical cables to make the spark. So if you can just kind of see it as like a flow of things, and most of the time your issues are going to be tubing's a pain. Again, make sure you have fuel. This is a 2-stroke, doesn't need oil. And just make sure those tubes are good and the bulb is good. If all that's good, then usually these are fine.
One common problem actually that I had a lot was the pull cord. Sometimes you have to rewind these pull cords. They can be quite annoying. If I remember right, I had to get some pliers and you have to twist it around. It's got a mechanical spring. It can be a nightmare. You have to like push it in the plastic piece and then kind of wind it, but you can fix them. And they are sometimes a common breaking point. Sometimes the head actually of the whippersnipper can be an issue, and you can jam and all this kind of stuff, but as long as you're willing to get your hands dirty, you can fix these problems. Right, and you can see here is the full modeling of it, and what I actually did is that if we go here and we go to that, I took a picture of it just to give me a basic idea of the size. This isn't perfect because you're angling. As you can see, the holes are a little different. I still measured out all the holes, but the picture does help. And then I formed the cube into, as I said, it was like a 5.5 centimeter by 3.8 square, and I just kind of took it. You can see there I took the vertices around to kind of curve it, and then I just made a bunch of holes with cylinders with the accurate location, and I just used the Boolean modifier to make a negative. And for people who aren't technical but still want to do this stuff, you just have to buy this gasket paper and then use your old gasket, measure it up and make sure you've got a good design of what it looks like, just in case you mess up the old one. And then you just need you need one of those kind of scalpel like cutters. People use them for cutting I think piece of thick cardboard or whatever, and you can probably use that, or some circle tools or something. That's how I do it if I had to do it by hand, but otherwise I just made a 3D model and we can see it. And then here we are in Orca Slicer. As we can see, I've set it to TPU. You got to have TPU, but I mean, I don't know, maybe you could try with a thin piece of plastic, maybe, because you can kind of make membranes like vibration. But yeah, again, otherwise you could even make a piece of plastic and then use it to like cut out the holes of gasket paper or something, right? And here it is, just pretty standard. It's 0.4 nozzle piece, and yeah, just printed it out, and just that's a little bit, I might have to fix that up, right? But otherwise it looks fine. So yes, it does work, and give it a shot if you want to save some money, because if you're like me, I was looking up online and I just could not find the same model. So what do you do when they don't make something? Is you got to make it yourself, I guess.